Oh, man. I just saw The Dark Tower. The Dark Tower stars Mathew McConaughey, Idris Elba, and was directed by Nikolaj Arcel, I think is how you pronounce his name. Not really sure. This is a movie that's been inspired by a few books. The Dark Tower, is it as bad as everybody says? I'm thinking so. The movie's called The Dark Tower. It's supposed to be like about this book. At least everybody thought, The Gunslinger, the first book. But it's not. This story doesn't really take place within anything at all of Stephen King's Dark Tower series. So if you're a fan of the series, you're going in hoping for an adaptation of those books. That's not what this movie is. Performance-wise, Idris Elba, Mathew McConaughey, both good performances, I guess, for who they are, kind of. Idris Elba, definitely great as Roland. I mean, I think perfect casting. When I heard he got cast as Roland, I was super excited. I was ready for him to be the gunslinger. I thought there was nobody better to do the job, honestly. Mathew McConaughey as the Man in Black, I thought was really good casting too. The McConaissance is on a rise, he is, just kicking ass in about everything he does these days. So I was really excited to see him in this movie as well. But the problem is that he doesn't really do much. He doesn't really have much to do. I mean, he's like a really boring villain. And Roland, Idris Elba's character, is a really boring hero. But the movie's not about them. It's about a little kid named Jake. And Jake has visions of the Dark Tower and of the Man in Black and of Roland. And his parents think he's crazy, and they're going to send him off to a psychiatric ward and all this stuff. But he finds a way to get into Midworld, which is the kind of Wild West that the Dark Tower story takes place. At least the Gunslinger story takes place in. This movie just sucks. The majority of the film is like a Maze Runner or Divergent movie. It's very PG-13, like almost PG. I don't know if there's really any bad language in this movie at all that I can remember. Most of the deaths are like off-screen deaths, which are really weird to see Roland like shooting guns, and then like you don't really see him hit people too often every now and then, but like it just cuts and then there's people laying on the ground. You don't actually see the impact, which is just weird, and I don't know why they made that decision. I felt like The Dark Tower should have been more like a dark, gritty Western that was like... Because the first book, The Gunslinger, is just about like Roland chasing down the Man in Black kind of across the West, a Wild West kind of scenario. And I thought that sounded like an excellent introduction into what could be a Dark Tower cinematic universe. This movie's not that. It doesn't feel like a Western at all, not even like a little bit. They're just cowboys, or he's just a cowboy, but it doesn't feel like a Western at all. And it could have been really hard R, and it should have been really hard R to give the impact that is that of Stephen King's story. I don't know why they chose to go PG-13. I mean, I guess, money. But with this year and it's like R-rated action movie franchises that are happening, like with Atomic Blonde and Baby Driver and all these things, like why do a PG-13 Stephen King movie? Like why not just do an R-rated story, do a dark, gritty Western, do Roland chasing down the Man in Black through the West with demons and everything else? The movie was basically like shot in the foot right off the get-go. I mean, it was supposed to come out in February, and then it got pushed to July, and now August. So, I mean, obviously fans were like, this movie's probably gonna suck. And, it does. But it's like a lot of studio hands, I don't know, too many editors in there. Like, it's edited kind of poorly in moments. Like, there's moments where a character is one place, and then he's immediately somewhere else. And there was like some drama that probably happened in between those two cuts. Like, you're like, why did you just cut away from that was about to get interesting? Or, certain deaths in the movie that just like cuts away from it, and you're like, why didn't you just show them like die? Like, I know it's a PG-13 movie, but like give this movie any amount of stakes at all would be great. Just like a little bit. Come on. I think that overall this movie just annoyed me a lot, and I'm not one to really get annoyed with movies, especially like adaptations. Like, I'm a big comic book movie fan, and so I've been burned millions of times over the years, and like I would get like really hurt if they didn't like do a character just right. But like, I understand nowadays, like, this is an adaptation of a story, and it's this artist's adaptation. So like, you know, it's gonna be different. If you are very much in love with the book, go read the book. You don't have to watch this movie. But for fans of the book that wanted to see a great adaptation, like live action adaptation of The Dark Tower, this is not it. They took the story down to its like simplest form in like a sequel sense. Like the movie is technically a sequel to the book series, and they took that idea and they made it the most base, easy to comprehend story that overall just becomes boring. And then they presented that to the audience. Like basically there are some unanswered questions, like what it really is the Dark Tower, like who lives there. I don't know. And why. The Dark Tower gets a 2 out of 10. It does nothing to like introduce a new audience to the story, and it doesn't do anything to pay homage to the fans who respected the stories and really enjoyed those. So it does nothing for fans, and it does nothing for new audiences. It's just a total garbage movie that shouldn't have ever been made. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more reviews just like this one. Click right over there for my last review, and we'll catch you guys next time right here on Rad Movies.